Hi, Mr. Horror here. If you like that intro, that was done by this guy right here. Link down in the description. Maybe he'll make you an intro. Just ask him. Hello, Shadows. I'm Mr. Horror. And on February 8th, I posted something on Instagram telling you guys to send me in your true scary stories that happened to you. They didn't even have to be paranormal. Just something scary that happened to you. And it wasn't my idea. It was asked to me in the DMs by TristanMac86, so go give him a follow. Link in the description. All these people who sent me ghost stories, their link will be in the description on their Instagrams. So go give them a like and a follow. And tell them I sent you. Now keep in mind, some of these are very short, but still scary nonetheless. This one comes from Dr. Feelgood03. When I was 6 years old, I heard my dad call me from upstairs. Being young and naive, I went to him even though I saw him in the kitchen. When I got there though, it wasn't him. I saw no one, but I turned around and saw a faint person wearing colonial clothing walking away, and then walked through the wall. I never saw him again, but I felt like I was being watched several times after that. This next story comes from the person that made my intro, Tane Kapkar. I hope I'm saying that right. I'm sorry if I don't pronounce you guys' names right. One night when I was alone at home, watching TV, I heard some weird noise from my bathroom. First I ignored it. Later, I fell asleep, and a guy was killed due to 3 falling pots from the 10th floor. I woke up with a lot of sweat and rushed towards the balcony with my camera. What I saw was just fucking intense. The pot fell off the ledge without any air, wind, or person nearby. The 2 first pots missed the person below, but the 3rd one killed him. Later it was known that his wife was killed, and checking all the CCTV footage in the lobby, he dragged the body of his wife and disposed of her and was returning to his house. His wife was my aunt's friend. I asked him if he could send me the footage, but he sadly said that he lost it. The next one comes in from the person who sent in this topic, TristanMac86. Okay, so when I was like 3, I lived in a small apartment. I was asleep, but something had woke me up. Then I felt something creep up on my chest, and I thought it was a rat, so I screamed like a little kid would do. My dad came in running, and I said there was a rat, and he said there was no sign of a rat anywhere, so I thought nothing of it. Until I fell asleep, but something woke me up again. But this time I knew what it was. I could feel something watching me through my window, but still today, I still feel like I'm being watched. But I also figured out that our apartment complex was freakishly haunted, and my dad told me he thought it might have been a hand creeping up to my chest to take me. This next one comes from Satan's Water Closet 666. So I was probably about 5. My mom and I were in a Christmas place, and I can't remember the name right now. It was kind of like Bronner's if you've ever been to Michigan. My mom's side of the family has always been extremely sensitive to paranormal energies and stuff of that kind. We all have ESP, extrasensory perception, myself included. So we were just about to leave when my mom and I both felt like we were being strangled, even though everybody in the store was fine. We couldn't open the door to get out. It felt like we were being trapped inside of a balloon, and we were losing air quickly. And just as fast as it happened, it stopped. We could breathe again. But everybody in the store was extremely freaked out, as you could imagine. We never went back there again. The mall that we went to is called Canterbury Village. This next one is from a user named KabelKing, or KabelKing. Again, I apologize for ruining you guys' names. Hey, so my story was back in 2008 or 9. When we moved from our house to my grandparents', I was 7 or 8 years old. My room was pretty small, and the door was next to my bed. So basically, it was at my feet when I was asleep. And I remember when I read a book, I could see a black shadow with a cap from the side of my eye. I got up almost every night at midnight, and I could see the man at my door. I did not realize this until I was 13 or so. I think it was my grandpa's brother who died when I was 6. This one comes from Matthew Allen 16. It's not paranormal, but there was this time I was walking home at 9 p.m. in the middle of December, and I saw this guy wearing all black, and he had a balaclava on, so I couldn't see his face. And so I crossed the street to see if he would follow me. So I went down this person's driveway to get to the back alley, and I hear this crack from behind me. He had used a pair of bolt cutters to steal a bike. I ran past when I went down this person's driveway, and he was following me, so I looped back to the street that I was originally walking on, and hid in a bush in a person's lawn. I ended up in a KFC just down the street to avoid him following me again, till I can get somebody to pick me up. Stranger Things Fan 1. We have this fake skeleton, and my stepdad was sitting in the living room, and our skeleton was sitting on our kitchen island, and my stepdad heard a thud come from the kitchen, so we went there to check it out, and the skeleton was across the room on the floor, on its back in a different position than it was before. This one comes from Ballisticsonutty. So I used to live in this really old house. It was 119 years old. I lived there for a while, and in my bedroom, random carvings would show up on the wall. I started hearing movement in the house, and always felt like someone was watching me. And I even gained sleep paralysis, and would wake up seeing a black figure in my face. Then one night I went down to my kitchen, and there was a noise coming from the basement. Me being adventurous, I went to investigate. I went downstairs, and the black figure is right in the middle of my basement. It turned and my heart felt like it was going to explode. I ran up the stairs, locked the door, and hid in my room, never saw it again, but I would still hear the footsteps. This one comes from Logan.fudal. When my grandfather died in 2012, for years, the lights in my house would flicker. We removed the lights and even had an electrician check out the lights. He said there was nothing wrong with the outlets, and he left. Suddenly one day, all of our lights went out in a minute or two, and then after that, the lights never flickered again. This submission comes from Average Pineapple. One time, my friend and I were playing manhunt with my sister and her friend. We were hiding in the woods when we saw my sister stand near a bush, then run away. We waited 20 minutes or so, then came in my house to see them sitting on the couch saying that behind the bushes was someone with an axe saying, "Step closer into the darkness." This one comes from MrHotDoggo.com. One time when I was in 5th grade, my bus came early. I had the keys to my house, so I went and got there. I went inside and heard my mom call my name in her room, so I ran back, and she wasn't there, and my dad was in Louisiana, so I know it wasn't him pranking me. I ran to the living room and heard the telephone ring. Then I picked it up, all I heard was heavy breathing. Then I said hi and hung up. I got scared and heard my mom called my name again. I went to the kitchen and grabbed a knife. When I got there was a note on my fridge from my mom saying that she was going to arrive late tonight. From there I got so scared I ran to my neighbor's house, and they gladly let me stay till my mom got home. This one comes from GBellamai31. So my family went to Colonial Williamsburg, VA, for a trip. There is a house known there for tragic events. Its name is the Peyton Randolph House. Anyone that's lived there has died in the house. In the past couple years, they closed tours in the house because people gotten severely hurt or injured because of paranormal activities. So anyway, I took a picture, and I caught 2 figures. They are most likely 2 of the people who died there. Not scary, but it's a story. A few years ago, I had a friend named Ariel. I was so terrified of ghosts, still am. So one day she told me that someone had died in her house a few years before they moved in, and that house is haunted. I didn't want to believe it, so I tried not to. But on one day, her mom was taking a picture, and she took a picture of me and her in front of the living room. You could see the white figure in the background. After that, the lights flickered and I stopped coming to her house. This next one comes from Nerdindahouse. Okay, so there was this one house that was torn down on Jefferson Street because it has been abandoned for over 20 years. No one knows why it was abandoned, but all we know is that there were still toys and crap in the house, just sitting around. So about 2 days after it got torn down, a dude was walking down the street. It's sort of a busy road, but the people who lived around there, he was walking and said they saw a car with no license plate or anything that could be tracked. The man was hit at an angle. That would mean that the driver possibly drove into him. They couldn't find any family to this man, and no one knew where he was from or who he was. They found a car about 3 miles down the road, off in some grassy area near a barn, with the drivers passed out. People never found out who he was or what happened to him. The news reported only that man was struck and killed by this vehicle. The news reported that the man was struck and killed, but with anything else with it, being that it was a small town, it would be on for days. The body was cleaned up, but they left a shoe, not both, only a shoe. It was there for about 2 weeks, then it was gone. That's all we really know, and that's happened 3 years ago. This next story comes from Hunter Griffin 1. One time I was home alone and I went to sleep. While I was asleep, my family tried calling my phone, but of course I didn't hear it. So I was surprised when a lot of my family was crying when they came into the house just to see me asleep. They woke me up and said, "Hunter, somebody answered the phone. It wasn't you. It was a man." I wasn't alone at my own house with the locked doors. They thought I was hurt. This next story comes from Brian Bolt T1. In a house I used to live in, we were eating lunch, and the soup ladle that was still in the soup flew up and hit the ceiling and dropped to the floor. When we first moved into the house, one bathroom was really creepy. Guests that stayed always had horrible sleep and refused to stay in that room again. Not just one person, but multiple. And once my sister and I were washing dishes, and we just looked out the window, and occasionally there was a black figure across the road from my house hiding behind a building. And we both saw it. We looked at each other and looked out the window again, and it was gone. Thank you all for the submissions. Make sure to check me out on Instagram so you guys can see whenever I post another question. And who knows, maybe you'll be featured. Thank you guys for all the love and support that you've been showing this channel and my Instagram. I hit 20K recently on Instagram, and I want to say thank you guys very much for that. We're almost at 1,000 subscribers here on YouTube. Thank you guys very much. Make sure to check out my Kickstarter. We only got a couple more days. I want to start my ghost hunting show, and I know you guys want to see it. Leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and thank you for watching.